Hello everybody, I wanted to do an update video on the '07 JKU that I swapped a 6-liter LS2 engine into. So in the previous videos I went over kind of what I did to the engine, went over the transmission, NV3500 transmission. I cannot stand automatic. Everybody that does an LS swap does 700R4, 4L80, 4L60, whatever. And I want to stick with a manual, and an NV3500 actually fit the ticket on this. So what I wanted to do is just a quick update on everything I had to do to kind of get everything in there, get that package into the engine. So a lot of people have asked me, why aren't you doing a 617? Like that's for another one. I'll have others that I'll do that in. This is my daily driver. We travel to Tennessee or Florida from here in Ohio. And anybody that owns a Jeep knows that when you take the top and doors off, that you have this wind blowing in from behind, and all that black soot and diesel smell and everything all comes in over there. And the wife and kids are very unappreciative of that kind of thing, especially when we're traveling, 16 plus hours somewhere. So that's why I chose to do an LS motor in this. There is, unfortunately, I see a lot of people online bashing LS motors. I'm here to tell you, LS engines are great engines. They really are. Usually you can pick the engines themselves up really relatively cheap. They run forever, they're fuel efficient, and they're honestly pretty good power, and they're lightweight. So yes, I know there's more popular, Hemi swaps, and you can go spend $100,000 on a new 392 Hemi if you want, whatever. But that's not what I do. I do budget swaps. And be honest, I'm not a big fan of the new Jeeps. I'm really not. Nothing against them. If you own a new Jeep, please don't take that the wrong way. I'm just not a fan of the look of them. They're getting too space looking like a space machine. So honestly, the JK is not necessarily my favorite either, but the 4-door is nice for the family. So I want to stick with the JK. So I wanted to go over what I had to do to fit this whole package in there. It was actually a lot more expensive than I thought it was going to be, and it was also a lot more involved than I thought it was going to be. Originally, when I started this, I kind of thought maybe I'm going to have like $4 grand or so in this. It turned out to be probably more like 8,500 bucks or so in all total of everything. Okay, so this is about 95% done. It does start and run, obviously. I still have to put drive shafts in it, and I still have to put an accelerator cable in it. I don't even have that in there. And I have to do an exhaust. I have to get it tuned. So all that stuff really adds up. Now, the getting it tuned is going to cost me, probably $800 plus tax here in local Dayton area. It's about what everybody's running. The exhaust is probably going to run me at least that, maybe over $1 grand to have that done. Typically, I do my own exhausts on all of my swaps. This one, the headers come off at a weird angle. It's going to have really tight mandrel bent 90s to clear some stuff. And it's just not going to be doable for me. I'm going to have to take it to a shop. So kind of sucks on that part. So just with the tuning and exhaust, I'm going to have to dump another couple grand in there. And then, another probably $400, $500 in drive shafts. So I've still got a handful of little things to do before it's drivable. But it's in there, it's bolted in, it starts up and runs good. I've got all the meticulous little stuff for the most part done. So I'm going to take a little time to kind of go over a few things here of what I've done. So actually, bring your attention to the exhaust. So I have an X chamber pipe that I'm going to be putting in there. All of the pipe I'm doing is actually 2.5 inch. I've watched quite a few videos, dyno videos of different exhausts, and 2.5 inches I think is going to work really well for this. I have right here Spintech 6000 exhaust mufflers. If you guys have not gone on YouTube and listened to a Spintech 6000 exhaust muffler with X pipe on an LS, I advise you to do it. It just absolutely sounds amazing. These guys have these trucks sounding like Corvettes. It's just absolutely amazing sounding. So you'll see here that LS motor fits in there perfect. It literally looks like it was made to go in there. I just could not be happier with the fit. One issue I did run into, you will see that in my previous videos, the alternator right here was located on the bottom on the driver's side. Unfortunately, I had an issue with the steering box. Get in here. So you'll see that the power steering pump pulley is pretty close to that steering box. The alternator actually didn't clear that steering box at all. And the power steering pump pulley did, but when you rev the engine and it torqued the engine, the pulley would hit it. So I actually had to put a little bit of a smaller pulley on the pump. Now, for those of you that aren't aware of this, anytime that you put a smaller pump on your power steering pump, a smaller pulley, pardon me, on your power steering pump, it's going to push the fluid way faster, and the fluid is going to get way hotter. Okay, so you can't go too small. You don't want to go really small. You can go a little bit smaller, like I did, and get away with it just fine. But if you go too small, you're going to be burning pumps up. Okay. So as I said here, you know, we need a throttle cable still. That's not on there. The one issue that I did run into, so since I had to relocate my alternator up here, that kind of put a pickle in, or a monkey wrench, I should say, into my plans for my intake. So this has a snorkel on it, if you guys didn't notice. This right here is from Rugged Ridge. I absolutely love that Rugged Ridge snorkel. This thing looks absolutely awesome on here. I'm very happy with it. And on the snorkel, basically, it has a bellow. It comes down in here and then goes in. Let me see if I can get a shot of the tube. Yeah, so there's the end of the snorkel tube. And it actually worked out really well until the alternator come right here. So now I got to find a way to somehow route this intake and connect it up to my snorkel. I also have my heater core lines in here. I've got a universal, wow, I'm losing track of thought here. Here we go. Coolant reservoir, sorry guys. Universal coolant reservoir, I got coolant hoses. So I've got all this stuff going on right here that's literally right in the way of me getting this intake tube down into my snorkel. So I've got to figure that part out now. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do there yet, but I'll figure that out. Now the the actual computer I stuck in the engine bay, and I'm going to make like a cover of some type to cover this up, because I really don't want all these mess of wires like hanging out, you know, like a sore thumb. I want it to look clean in my engine bay. I've done that pretty good job of making it look very clean, except for that part. So I've got to fix that. Besides that, everything else fits very well. Those Patriot exhaust headers, oh my gosh, they fit so nicely, but very, very snug. So if you look at my steering bar right here, let's see if I can get that in the camera or not. We're talking 1/4 inch of clearance between that steering bar and those Patriot exhaust headers. They fit extremely tight, but again, I am so happy that those headers fit in there. I told you guys in the previous video, one of my previous videos, if you get a exhaust header that's actually made to swap an LS motor into a JKU, you're $1,600 to $1,800 in, and that's crazy. That's crazy money. I'll never pay that for a set of exhaust headers. I do budget swaps, so that's not budget. So I've got probably $8,000, $8,500 in this already, and that's a good bit of money for a swap. It's not the most I've ever put in one, but that's up there pretty high. I anticipated maybe like $4 grand, and it ended up being over double that when I was done. So that worked out really well. They fit in there nice and tight. Let me get over here to the underneath. Excuse my camera work for a moment. Okay. So you'll see here that the factory cable for the transfer case I have on a bracket that come off of the Jeep transmission, and the same lever that engaged the transfer case is off the Jeep as well. So that is the factory cable that went to the factory Jeep transfer case, bolted to the NV3500 Chevy transmission and the Chevy 241C transfer case. I have been on multiple forums where people were like telling you had to use the Jeep transfer case and Chevy transfer case will not work. And I'm here to tell you that is completely false. This 241C transfer case fit perfect.
and the angle's literally perfect. This is literally going to work out so nice. So if you're familiar, the factory Jeep drive shafts are you know, some type of goofy thing that's got a bunch of bolts around it. It doesn't have U-joints in it. So for the swap, obviously you can't use the factory drive shafts. This is exactly 36 inches from the rear end to, or you know, from yoke to yoke, basically. So it's going to take a 36-inch drive shaft. And then I still got to put a yoke on the transfer case here. But as you can see, the collector on this side hangs down. It comes down right above the front drive shaft where it's going to go. So that has to be cut. Have to have a tight Mandelbrot 90. The other side has to come around and come up along this cross member and underneath of the drive shaft without being too high. But it's got to be above this cross member, so you know when I'm off-roading it doesn't hit the exhaust. So I've got on the exhaust I got a few things to figure out, but honestly everything fit like a glove. Everything fit very well. And on the shifter here, I do got to do something different with the shifter. So you see the location is actually very nice. If you remember, again, in a previous video I spoke about the MV3500 that I have in this. It came out of a 1992 Chevy Silverado 2500. So that is that shifter location is set way further forward on those transmissions versus the MV3500 that came out of an S10. You know, those shifters are dropped way back here. So I made this genius linkage, and I would show you guys, but I don't want you guys to try it because it doesn't work. I made a genius linkage, and it looks so nice. It fits so perfect. It put my shifter right in the location I wanted it to be, but this thing is so short throw that you're talking an inch of movement. It is terrible. I mean, when you're trying to shift this thing, it's just barely moving, and it's so hard to get into the gears. It's just not enough leverage. So I'm going to go back to the drawing board on how I relocate my shifter. I know you can get some shifter relocation kits that are universal that I could maybe work, but I think honestly I'm just going to kind of do it like they did in the semis back in the old day, and you know, just have a bar that comes out and bent to a 90 and just extends back and comes up 45s out. So I think that's probably going to be the way I end up doing it in the long run. But I really did make a very nice, what I thought was a genius linkage setup that, you know, moved it back. But unfortunately, it's not going to work. So just kind of wanted to go over that stuff, what I've done. MV3500 bolted to the 6-liter ls2 with the factory 241C transfer case from GM. It all fit in perfect. The Patriot exhaust headers that I paid less than $400 for, they work perfect. The truck intake clears by maybe a 1/4 inch. It's not much, but it does clear the hood when the hood's closed. So everything that I have done has literally just worked out perfect for this swap. Now, if you guys have any questions at all regarding this, I'm sure that there's all kinds of little bits and pieces of information that I'm forgetting, and you know, anytime you're making a video, you're not going to remember it all. But if you guys have any questions at all about this, I mean, definitely leave me a comment. You can feel free to subscribe if you would like, if you want to see more of this content. And then I am going to make some more videos, obviously, once I get it tuned, get the exhaust on, get the shifter fixed, you know, to where it's going to work a little better. And then I'll make some pretty sweet videos then. I plan on putting this through the ringer. I mean, I'm not going to beat the crap out of it, like I said. But, you know, I'm sure it's going to spin those 35s pretty easily. And I off-road quite a bit, so I'll have a lot of fun videos for you guys. And then, obviously, I've got to upgrade the whole front end. So it's lifted and bigger wheels and tires and a lot of aftermarket off-road stuff. But I haven't beefed up the front end yet. I'm going to have to, especially now with the extra weight and horsepower that's up there. So anyways, definitely subscribe if you want to see more of this, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.